Because people only care about what they care about. They don't care about what you care about. That's the answer to Decoy Voice's question at the end of his video that he left open-ended, probably with the expectation that you would either get what he's saying or fill in your own answer. I wanted to answer the question specifically, not because it needed to be answered, but mostly because I want to expand on that answer, as I do with all of my videos, where I take something that somebody else said and kind of flesh it out a little bit more so we get a little bit more of a nuanced understanding of what's going on. Now, the video itself is talking about Hasan Piker's recent fiasco with his dog, which when you look at what happens on camera, you can see that that dog is clearly abused. It's not just training. It's not just extreme amounts of discipline. That dog, when Hasan looks at him, the way he puts his head down, or the way the dog puts their head down and goes back to its spot, it's very clear that he's being abused. It's not just discipline. And if you know anything about discipline, if you know anything about training dogs but still loving dogs, you know the difference. You've seen the difference and you know what's going on there. And the reason why everybody is angry with Hasan now over that is because pets in general are a near universal thing that most human beings, if are not actively participating in it, at least have that part of them that has a desire for it. I personally love dogs, and I've had dogs over the years, and I just personally have learned that I'm too selfish and self-centered to want to put the effort into taking care of the dog, all of the things that need to happen, you know, making sure that they get haircuts and baths and go outside and go for walks and all that stuff. Like, I don't want to do any of that stuff, but I still love dogs and I like being around dogs. And so I have that part of me when I see somebody treating an animal like it's clear that Hasan does, it sparks something in you when you see it. And you can tell that that dog is abused by the way it reacts when Hasan looks at him a certain way. It's not just discipline, it's abuse. And you can tell by looking at the dog. And so Decoy Voice ends his video asking questions about why public figures like Gavin Newsom can do all of the bullshit that he did, from COVID lockdowns while he gets to go to restaurants to handling the fire situation in the way that he handled it, and, you know, trying to steal property from people who lost their homes in the fires and all that stuff. And then he finally gets turned on by the people for an image of Trump that was just a little too far, I guess. And why Hasan Piker does all of these horrible things online, says all this horrible stuff online in the desperate hope that you'll pay attention to him so that he can get money. And then he does all of this stuff, and it's the dog, this dog thing that gets, it's like, because people only care about what they care about. They don't care about what you care about. And the reality is that most people, because the fires in California didn't affect them specifically, they don't give a fuck. They just don't. Because the COVID lockdowns in other parts of the country weren't nearly as severe as they were here in California, most people just don't give a fuck. Right? And because Hasan Piker says all of these things about groups of people that very few of us actually pay much attention to, most of us just don't give a fuck. But when you see him treating a dog the way he clearly treats his dog, that's something that most people can empathize with. That's something that sparks a very strong visceral reaction when you see it. And that's why people care. It's because most people don't care that Hasan Piker is talking about terrorism the way he talks about it, because we've become so desensitized to all of that. And realistically, most of that stuff happens in a different part of the world. And yeah, we went through 9/11, but that was 20 years ago. We've healed from that wound, and we're more just worried about trying to get through our day. And we see so much violence in the world that we're kind of desensitized to it. So when he calls for things like the blood of landlords and stuff like that, even if he had been serious about it, most of us just don't give a crap because we're too busy consumed with our own lives. That's not something where we hear that and it sparks a visceral feeling inside of you that's like, how fucking dare you? But you see a dog abused, and it feels like when you see a child abused. It's a helpless creature that just is under the power of some cruel, evil person, and you have this desire to rise up and beat him in the face until he stops doing what he's doing. And you want to take and save the dog and save the child and save this helpless entity that just it calls out to the side of you that wants to be a hero and like stop bad things from happening. And every single person here who isn't a sociopath of some description has that feeling inside of them, and that is why certain things all of a sudden seem to come out of nowhere and yank somebody down out of their position of power. It's not because the person deserved to be removed. It's because they made the mistake of doing something that is universally reviled and letting people know about it. And once that happens, that's what causes the downfall of people like Hasan Piker. That's why people are turning against him in droves, because there are certain things you just don't mess with. And when you allow your head to grow so big that you think you can just do those things and get away with it, that's when you start having some problems, because people only care about what they care about. And if you go out there saying all kinds of crap, trying to get attention and money for yourself, and you stay with those things, most people are just going to be like, all right, he's just weird, whatever, I don't care. But when you start abusing dogs and you start abusing children and you start abusing people and you start doing these things that most of us are like, ugh, that's when it goes over the line, and that's when it starts turning into, now you're done, sir. So to answer Decoy Voice's question that was already answered, but I wanted to flesh it out a little bit more, it's because people only care about what they care about, and once you step into that realm where people actually care, that's when things start going wrong for you. And that's the answer to the question. So thanks for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe to help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers, and I'll see you for the next one.